get there as well, along with various other things that crop up regularly if you were to watch these. So we're going to go on a walk. It's Monday, but imagine it's Friday. And actually on next Friday you can join in. So with no further ado, may I introduce you to Man in the Woods. We're going to do standing. Yeah.
Do you want this one?
Oh yes, yeah. Sorry.
Hello.
Let's go for a Friday walk. Do I need to speak a bit louder? Is that okay?
Good.
Yeah, okay, good. Right, Rachel's talk was really lovely and coherent and professional and well put together, and get that out of your head now. E.G. Okay, yeah. I'm just going to put this away from the laptop. Oh, it's too risky. Okay, right. So context. It's Thursday night. I've been up a bit too late, maybe spent the last hour and a half trying to work out how I can possibly make the next walk go between the rural bus stop I left my last walk at, down on the edge of Somerset and Dorset. The trains to Yeovil go actually that's quite frequent, but on the way back they're not that frequent, every 2 hours, and then I rely on a rural bus to get from Yeovil or Castle Carey or wherever it is to that place. And the rural buses, that's also, that's not too bad, every 2 hours. But if you get to a train station at midday and then you've got to wait 2 hours because you just missed the last one, and then you've only got a certain amount of light left, then it's a bit of a struggle trying to work out how to fit the walk in sometimes. But for some reason I've committed myself to a lifetime of a weekly walk where every week I put this together in a really ridiculous, okay, forget I was just explaining this bit. In the morning you wake up half an hour before the walk begins, or half an hour before you need to leave the house, and quickly put some things into your pockets. Actually, I think I've got most of these today. Boots, jacket for the rain, charger, so that you don't run out of power when you're waiting for a bus, espresso cup, cash, just in case you find some good local honey. Sounds like a dating something. I've even got my water bottle with it, yes. Tin whistle, this is a new addition to my, it's not really all that necessary, but I was just explaining to my friend that it's better than annoying my neighbours if I play it out in the field. And now we're ready, so it's about an hour's walk from me to the big train station, so a bus is preferable if I'm running out of time. Bus number 1, train out to the middle of nowhere, bus out to the edge of nowhere, and then finally ready to begin the walk. Right, so I've been doing this for about 6 and a bit years, and Rachel said something really nice in her talk just then, about how, I'm not sure exactly what she said, but it's something like, when she finds herself in unfamiliar territory, she puts on her boots and goes for a walk. And that's what I did when I found myself living in Salisbury for a year and a half. And I was very lonely and bored, didn't know anybody, other than my partner who I lived with. She's lovely, that's not the problem. And so I thought I would kind of try and find my place in the landscape, or anchor myself by going for a walk and learning the rivers and the hills around me. And I thought, if I can kind of go, oh, I know that hill over there, or oh, I know where this river goes, I've walked there before, then I thought maybe I'll feel more a part of the place I'm in. So one Friday I set out from my front door and I walked 18 kilometres, just over 10 miles, and I stopped at a little pub and had a pint of bitter, and my phone did run out of battery that time because I didn't have a spare charger. And the woman behind the bar very kindly looked up the bus times for me, and the last bus of the day was going, it was probably like 2:36 and the last bus was going at 2:37, so I quickly knocked back my pint and ran. And then a week later I got a bus back to that same pub and I carried on walking, and then most Fridays, when it's not COVID, a wedding, I'm unwell, it's Christmas, etc. I take a series of buses and trains back to wherever my last walk finished, and I carry on walking. So it's all one continuous, I feel like I shouldn't stand in front of the screen, but luckily I've got my whistle. It's all one continuous walk that all joins on, all the way up to Birmingham and back down, all the way to the M25 and back out. This is where I've left it at the moment, just near Yeovil, which is why I was going on about Yeovil earlier. And I found this picture last night from my first ever Friday walk, which I thought was quite nice. It looks like the beginning of things, doesn't it? I met a man in the woods here. And he told me this amazing story about these old. I don't know if anybody here lives in or near Salisbury, but there's a nice, there's a quite boring pine plantation on a ridge, and in amongst the very boring monoculture of trees, there are 3 grizzly old beech trees, I think. And this man, well, he said hello to me, and then weirdly, I bumped into him in town the next week, and he said, "Oh, do you know the story about those old trees in the woods?" And I said, "Oh, no, tell me the story." And he told me this. It's actually quite harrowing. He told me the story about these 3 sisters who moved to Wilton near Salisbury in maybe, let's say, the 17th century, because I don't think it happened, although local people will tell you it definitely did happen, which is quite nice because it makes the story live. These people moved from Denmark, and there was an outbreak of plague, and people kind of blamed the foreigners, and after a couple of years of trials and harassment, these 3, but this is really very bleak story, these 3 women were taken into the woods and hanged. And to this day, locals will go and hang things in the trees, and they really kind of mourn this story and sort of celebrate these women, and kind of it's just kind of really nice. I mean, I've actually found several bits on the local map that kind of have the same surname as these sisters that I don't think existed. And I have looked in the local newspaper archives for any evidence, and I haven't found it. That's not really the point. I don't know why I'm going on about the fact that I don't think they existed. What I really like is the fact that they exist to people in the area. What's next? I thought I should just put a picture of some stones in here, because otherwise, yeah. West Kennet Long Barrow, I'm sure you know. A church, I'm sure you've seen one of those, and a pub. This is kind of the holy trinity of walks, isn't it? If you get some stones, a medieval church and a pub, and if you want that exact combination within about 10 feet, you want to go to Stanton Drew in Somerset and have a pint at the Druids Arms, I think, where there's a trio of standing, a duo of standing stones and one lying down stone in the garden, looking out over the churchyard. It's amazing, and it's also my local stone circle in Bristol, where I live now. Yeah, it's nice when you get really special places. It's nice when you get a medieval church or an ancient long barrow. Sometimes the local deities are a bit more pragmatic, make do. I mean, this is actually as good to me as a stone circle, maybe better. Spookier anyway. One of my favourite things about walking in the countryside are the signs, and I take a lot of pictures of the signs. Beware snakes, chocolate, hot cross buns, two bank holidays. That's Easter nailed, isn't it? There's a lot of sarky signs out there. I think this one's from a kind of disgruntled vicar or something. And you might see me selling a poster plagiarising this one in the new year. Clean up after your dog. A touch of menace, which is always quite nice when you're walking in the countryside. Horrendous, the details. Slow down for pigs. Sandy balls. Thing is, I think people that grow up in Dorset or Hampshire don't think that's unusual. It's on the Dorset-Hampshire border somewhere. It actually exists. I looked it up and it exists at least during the reign of Henry VIII, where it's just spelled B-O-L-L-E-S and sandy, still sandy balls. Sandy balls. Another one I've ripped off. Blandford Hedgehog Extravaganza. And it does look like he's like, I'm ready. There's something really ridiculous and silly and funny, but also something kind of quite moving to me about all these kind of signs and village posters, because they're kind of a little clue to the sort of rituals of ordinary people behind the nicely painted doors in the villages you walk through. And I don't know, they give a bit of life to the landscape, and I do find them kind of moving as well as ridiculous and silly. This guy here is he's the star of the show. I don't think it's the same hedgehog. I think that one said hedgehog carers. I thought it said hedgehog careers, but hedgehog carers. I think they'd make terrible carers. But it's not all standing stones and village posters. It's often a nightmare. Sludge, mud, water. That's it for that slide. Overgrown footpaths and the worst of all, cows. I mean, they're kind of lovely, but they're also terrifying. And if I knew their intentions, I'd be okay with them. I was once walking through Somerset and I stopped off at Roger Wilkins Cider Farm. And I'd bought some cider for me and some cider for a friend, so I had quite a few litres of cider in my backpack, and it was getting towards the end of the walk. There was only about about a mile left if I went across the field where there's a footpath, or a 4-mile detour. But in the footpath against the gate where was a herd of frisky steers kind of mounting each other and, kind of being like sort of rugby lads. No offence, rugby lads. And I kind of ummed and ahed, and I spent a while kind of talking to the cows, like, hello, 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 you okay? Hello, hello, hello. Thinking maybe they'd just move out of the way, but they didn't. And then I kind of thought, oh no, I'm going to have to go around. But I was so tired. It was a big, long detour, and I had the cider in my backpack. I was really weighed down. And then I met this woman sitting on a bridge, kind of like a sort of, I've actually never seen Star Wars, but Yoda seems kind of like a vaguely, I think he's a sort of little wise man type figure. And she was kind of sitting there, she was like, are you alright there? And I was like, oh yeah, I think I can't go through that field because of those cows. And she went, oh, I should imagine they'd be okay. And I thought, oh, she's local, she's probably walked through the field. She said, what you want to do is pick up a big stick, and if the cows come near you, just point at them and go, no, confidently. And I went, oh, okay, maybe. And I was like, is there no chance they'll run at me and trample me to death? She said, oh, no. I just remember the stick and be confident. And I was like, right, okay. All right. And then she said I reminded her of her son. And I thought, I quite like peer pressure, to be honest. And I thought, also, she's not going to send her son to an early grave. I trusted her. She seemed very wise. I was wrong to trust her. I went into the field, picked my way through the cows with my stick, and then they started shaking their head and running at me, and I was going, no! And to the point where I was having to tap them on the nose as well, and they kept running at me. I backed into the corner, which is probably not a sign of confidence. There's a drainage ditch behind me, or some parts of Somerset it's a Rhine and some parts of Somerset it's a Rhine. I can never remember which way around, but hopefully I won't come into any trouble for that. Backed against a drainage ditch, cows all around me. No, they weren't having any of it. They're kind of running at me. It was absolutely awful. I climbed into a willow tree. Gave my friend a call. The willow tree luckily sort of hung over into the next field where there was just one cow standing under the willow tree, and I was sort of just tapping it on the head going, "Excuse me please, excuse me please." It didn't excuse me. I lowered myself to within about a foot from its nose, and it was absolutely uninterested in me, and I got out of that field and I walked the 4 miles around. What's on the next slide? So everything over time. So these are things that I have made, and over. So don't laugh. So it started out as basically a way of me kind of trying to connect to the landscape and find my place. And over the years, it's kind of become the main source of inspiration for everything I make. And I hope to kind of distill some of the ridiculousness and the reverence and the oddness of the countryside and my kind of personal experience, and find a way to kind of, I suppose I'm still trying to find my place in the landscape through kind of lived experience. And my Friday walks become my main kind of, I guess, research really. It's become the source of inspiration for everything I make. Little church hassock there, Charles, cow, next. But also, it doesn't really, I don't think going for a walk needs to be a big project. I mean, it's nice to have a big project, but it's also okay to just go for a walk. And sometimes it's just nice to have an excuse to get out the house and to go for a pint. But you have to do the walk bit first, otherwise it doesn't really feel like you've done anything. I mean, it does, but it justifies it. Oh, actually, I forgot about this man. If you know him, don't tell him. He did actually let me take the photograph, but he probably wasn't expecting to end up on a presentation 6 years later. He was really lovely. I walked into this pub in the New Forest. I think it was my 3rd ever walk, and he went, "Oh, you can sit with me if you like." And I was like, "Oh, that's lovely, thank you." And he'd recently picked some chestnuts that the landlord was roasting. But it's kind of confusing because in the picture he's eating Nobby's nuts, which isn't what he was sharing around. And he told me this amazing story. It was absolutely incredible. He said that near where he lives there's a village green, and on the village green there used to be this fucking great walnut tree, and that's definitely not his accent, but it's as close as I'm going to get. And he said every day the farmer used to come along and with a brick on a rope and throw it up into the tree a few times, and keep whacking it up there. And he said, "What do you do that for?" And he goes, "Oh, well, you got to bruise the tree to get a good crop of walnuts." And he said, the farmer says to him, "Oh, the day I stop doing that, the tree will die because it's used to it now." And he thought, "Oh, this bloody idiot." And then so he carries on living his life, this friendly nut man here. And I accidentally put him on the spot now. I feel a bit awkward about this. I didn't really mean to do this, but this is one day he's just minding his own business, going about his life, and someone goes, "Oh, did you hear the farmer Walnut is dead?" And he's like, "Oh shit, okay." So he's walking along, goes to the village green, and he sees the tree. And he goes, "And that tree was on the fucking ground, dead." Amazing. I was absolutely amazed by that. And that's where I sat when I heard the story. How long was this talk meant to last? What's the time right now? It's quite early, isn't it? I hope you've got some questions. Here's a nice pub. I think that dog ate a little bit of my sandwich. It's a kind of soup and a sandwich kind of pub. This was absolutely lovely.
Is this in
It is, yeah. Do you know where it is? It's in all the best pubs in the world seem to be kind of in Cranbourne Chase, sort of Dorset, Hampshire, Wiltshire kind of border. It's like the land time forgot. It's great. If you like Thatch, that's the place to go. Burger for £12.95. Cheers. If you have any questions, that would help me fill the time.
I noticed a couple of things there. What goes on the hunt stays on the hunt. You see that? That was I wouldn't want to know what happens if that's what. Yeah, that was in the background of your man.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
He also had a Stonehenge beer mat.
Yes, there's a brewery called Stonehenge Ales, just north of Stonehenge, and it's run by, or it was run by, a Danish couple who once a year make green beer. I spoke to them.
I wonder how they do it. Nettles.
There we go.
The other thing I noticed was that Morrison's had sponsored the hedgehogs. I quite like that.
That's very nice and mundane, isn't it? I like that. I didn't notice that as well. This is great. I feel like I'm learning about things.
Supported, sorry, not sponsored, just supported.
How are you saying this?
Right at the bottom.
Bottom in red.
Oh yes, Blandford Morrison's. If you go to Blandford Forum, there's blue plaques around celebrating the Bastards, I believe.
Who rebuilt the town.
Yeah, a famous family who rebuilt the town. So it's not as bland as it sounds.
But good on them for sponsoring the hedgehogs. I'd say Morrison's.
Yes.
I wonder if they had to ask permission from the head office, or if it was like a rogue action.
Yeah, I like the idea that maybe want to check out. It's just like, yeah, go on then.
That's good. Do you ever take anyone on a walk with
No.
you? Never.
Never.
It's a solitary. Would you ever take anyone on a walk?
No, but I did get given some free clothes recently to take people on a pretend Friday walk.
Did you? Did you get boots as well?
Yeah, I also got some free boots, but that's unconnected.
There was one quite recently. It was about, I don't know, a month ago, 2 months ago,
Yeah.
and there was lots of mire. There was lots of problems.
Yes, yeah,
And your
yeah.
boots were they weren't up to it, were they?
Yeah, no, my old boots are like held together with string and hope, and it's turning into a weird kind of sponsored talk, but I got sent some boots for free, which was really nice because I did need some boots.
You also have troubles with public transport, just like we did. I also saw a
Yes.
Friday walk. You have to lag it for a bus.
Yes, yeah. No, well, the trouble wasn't the public transport. The problem was I got talking to a man at the bar for too long, and then he was kind of telling me about. It was a lovely man with a lovely conversation, but he wanted to kind of tell me about every cider farm he's ever been to, and so I realised I couldn't make it to the bus stop that I was going to, and then I had to suddenly change my route and bolt a different direction. And I ran the last 3 miles. I just made it.
He makes it. It's a very dynamic and tense Friday walk, because it sort of starts off with a walk and then it kind of ends up with just loads of footage of your feet legging it, saying, "I hope I make the bus." So it's kind of, that is the basic nature of it.
Yes.
But you did. You got there.
Yeah.
So where do you want to see these extravaganzas?
Well, I watch them on Instagram, but you put them on TikTok as well, don't you?
Instagram, TikTok, man in the woods with a dot in between each word.
Can't you put them on YouTube?
Do you know what? I actually did do that for about 3 weeks, maybe 2 years ago, and I think maybe 8 people watched them. So I thought maybe I'll just cut my losses and keep it on Instagram and TikTok.
Best walk for cider yet.
Unfortunately, the Harrowing Cow Walk was probably the best walk for cider because it's the best cider. It's really good. I mean, if you really, really like really good cider, well, in that case, you probably already know of Roger Wilkins, but if you don't, then head to Roger Wilkins Cider Farm in Somerset. Land's End Farm, Mudgley.
Most muddy walk so far.
I mean, every winter it's just a kind of slop fest. It's horrible. I don't know. I mean, one time it doesn't really mud, but one time similar sort of cow ream situation where I had to kind of jump across the ream to get away from cows, and actually weirdly I was carrying cider then as well, and I ended up sort of slightly in the ream, so that was very muddy and horrible. I think that's as good an answer as I'm going to give. Sorry.
I was quite moved by the cow incident because I mean usually they're fine, aren't they? They're just cows, but sometimes they get really edgy. We had an awful experience in Constantine in Cornwall, and there's a fugu. Imagine the situation. Imagine this room's a field, and that pillar's a fugu, and that bit there where it's red is the farmer's gate, and the door at the back there is the other farmer's gate, and you can't see any cows from the red bit, but you can see a fugu, so you walk to the fugu, but when you get halfway to it, all the cows come, and they're running at you, like really, really running, so then I run, because it's me in the field, and I get to the fugu, and then I'm just surrounded by cows, except they're not cows, they're young bulls.
Did you hide in the fugu?
Really angry. Their mum's really angry. They're kind of just excited about all this. They've probably never seen their mum that angry before. And there's this, funny creature hiding in a fugu. And this went on for like 2.5 hours. And every time I came out, I didn't have a stick. I didn't have the knowledge. So I just walked out of the fugu and I was just like clapping and like making ridiculous gestures at the cows who were just like doing like this at me, like doing this snorting thing. Anyway, eventually Lally decided to take her coat off and flap it at them at that gate.
I've heard that when you wave a cloth at bulls, they never run at you.
No. The young bulls did. They ran at Lally, and then in the most athletic way, like a kind of Hollywood sequence, I ran and then bolted a gate, or in a terrified manner, ran across and very badly scrambled over the gate and fell on my face. But it might have been the fall, Michael. They're awful. It's awful situations to get yourself in, though.
They're horrible things.
I found I was surrounded by cows once.
You were surrounded by
I
cows?
was surrounded by small cows, really small ones, but they were surrounding me, and I tried everything. I was like, no, I was trying to be polite. I kind of said, no, come on. I'm just boring. It's fine. And they didn't do anything. And then I put on my best primary school, because one of them touched me with its nose. That was the final straw. Touched it, and I just went, thank you. And they all just turned around and walked off like that. Just dispersed instantly.
There you all go. Next time you meet some angry cows,
That's the way to do it.
yeah, adopt your teacher voice. This is also a teaser into our next talk. But before we finish this one, it should also be said that although not at the moment, you do also sell lots of marvellous goods like the ones you showed earlier on. So people should look back, in the new year at the things you make?
Yeah, I switched my shop off, so you can't buy anything at the moment, but I'll switch it back on one day. So have a look on Instagram and on my website. I recently made a t-shirt, which I'm wearing it. Oh, should we have a look? It's a t-shirt I designed and got printed recently.
You should tell
mostly
us.
sold out, are they? Sorry.
You should tell us about what that's about.
I was on the television. Charlie Cooper had a television program called Myth Country, which I had to go around to friends to watch because I don't have a TV or a TV license. And he roped me into being in it briefly. But I also did all the artwork for it, which is really nice, and was kind of constantly on the phone too. It's just sort of a lot of ideas bouncing back and forth, and it was a lovely project to be involved with.
Has anyone seen it?
Yeah. It's really
Very
good.
well. People love it.
Thank you.
The artwork was brilliant, wasn't it?
No comment.
So, if you don't have Instagram or TikTok, you just download it. They're free, and you can connect with your friends, and it's really good. And if you have already got them, then you can find Scott. You can look for Man in the Woods with a dot between each word, and you can follow the Friday walks. And perhaps we'll get him along again at some point, and we can find out more about the walks and the adventures that he goes on. So, thank you very much, Man in the Woods.